Rain fell in steady sheets, drenching the marble paths of Greenwood Cemetery. A towering figure in a black coat stepped out of a sleek Rolls-Royce, his polished shoes sinking slightly into the wet ground. Ethan Carter, a 38-year-old self-made billionaire, was a man known for his ruthlessness in the corporate world. A man who never wavered, never broke. But today, his usual unshakable presence felt different. Because today marked 3 years since he lost the only woman he ever loved, Olivia Carter. Welcome back to my channel. If you love stories filled with shocking twists, deep emotions, and jaw-dropping revelations, then stay with me till the end. And do not forget to subscribe to the channel so you never miss a story that will leave you speechless. Ethan's piercing blue eyes were dark with grief as he moved toward Olivia's grave, his steps slow, deliberate. He had never missed a single anniversary since her passing. The accident that took her from him still haunted his nights. The guilt of not being there still clawed at his soul. No amount of wealth could fill the void she left behind. But today, something was different. Something was wrong. As he approached her gravestone, his breath hitched. His usually composed demeanor shattered as his eyes landed on a small child standing right there, alone, before Olivia's grave. The boy, no older than 5, clutched a single white rose in his tiny hands. His dark brown curls dripped with rain, and his oversized hoodie did little to shield him from the cold. His sneakers were worn out, barely holding together. Yet his face, Ethan's heart stopped. The resemblance was undeniable. The child's delicate features, the shape of his nose, and, most strikingly, his emerald green eyes. Eyes that were identical to Olivia's. For the first time in years, Ethan felt something foreign. Fear. A deep, unsettling fear that twisted his stomach into knots. Who was this boy? And why was he standing here? Then, as if sensing Ethan's presence, the child slowly looked up. His wide, innocent eyes locked onto Ethan's. And then, in a soft, trembling voice, he uttered a sentence that made Ethan freeze on the spot. "Are you my daddy?" Ethan staggered back, his pulse pounding violently in his ears. The words echoed in his mind like a haunting melody. "Are you my daddy?" The little boy stood there, blinking up at him, his tiny fingers tightening around the white rose as if afraid Ethan might disappear. Ethan's throat went dry. This had to be a mistake, a cruel joke. But as he looked closer, the child's resemblance to Olivia was undeniable. Same emerald green eyes, same delicate features, same haunting beauty. But that was impossible. He swallowed hard, forcing himself to regain control. Who are you?" His voice came out hoarse, almost foreign to his own ears. The boy hesitated, then spoke in a whisper. "My name is Liam. Mommy told me to bring her a flower today. She said you would come." Ethan's breath hitched. Mommy? A storm of emotions raged inside him. This boy had a mother? Someone who sent him here? To this grave? On this very day? Who was she? And why would she tell him to come here, knowing he would be here? His mind raced, trying to make sense of something that made no sense at all. Olivia never had a child. They had been married for 5 years, but she had struggled with fertility. She had cried in his arms, broken, devastated, after every failed attempt. So how? Ethan knelt, leveling himself with the boy. He needed answers. "Liam, who is your mommy?" His voice was gentler now, though his chest felt like it was caving in. The boy's lips trembled as he clutched the rose tighter. "Mommy said she loved you very much." His little voice wavered, as if remembering something painful. Ethan's heart clenched. This could not be happening. Then, before he could press further, the little boy did something that made Ethan's entire world tilt. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small folded photograph. With trembling hands, he held it out to Ethan. Ethan took it cautiously, but the moment his eyes fell on it, his hands went ice cold. It was a picture of Olivia, and in her arms was a newborn baby. Ethan's fingers trembled as he held the photograph, his eyes scanning every inch of it in disbelief. It was Olivia. There was no doubt about it. Her soft auburn hair, the gentle curve of her smile, the way her emerald green eyes shone with love. But it was the baby in her arms that made his chest tighten like a vice. A newborn, wrapped in a blue blanket, a child that should not exist. His pulse roared in his ears. This was impossible. Olivia had never been pregnant. She had cried in his arms for years, devastated that they could not have a child. So how was this possible? Ethan swallowed hard and turned the photo over, his heart freezing at what was written in Olivia's familiar, delicate handwriting. Liam Carter. Our son. Protect him, Ethan. His vision blurred. His breath came in sharp, shallow gasps. His mind screamed for answers, but all he could feel was betrayal. He looked back at the little boy, Liam. His son. His son. Liam fidgeted, his small hands twisting the hem of his hoodie as if sensing Ethan's turmoil. Mommy said you would be mad, but she also said you would take care of me. Ethan's throat burned. He had spent 3 years mourning Olivia, drowning in guilt, believing he had failed her. But now it seemed she had been hiding something far worse. He needed answers. Now Ethan clenched the photograph in his hand and forced his voice to steady. Liam, where is your mother now? The little boy's eyes darkened, his tiny fingers gripping the white rose so tightly the petals bent. His voice was almost a whisper when he said, Mommy said she would come back, but she never did. A sharp gust of wind blew through the cemetery, sending a chill down Ethan's spine. Something was terribly wrong. And then, out of the corner of his eye, he noticed something else. A figure, partially hidden behind a tree, watching them. Ethan's body tensed. Someone was watching them. His sharp gaze snapped toward the shadowy figure partially hidden behind a towering oak tree a few feet away. The air around them suddenly felt heavier, charged with an unsettling tension. His instincts, the same ones that had made him a billionaire in the cutthroat business world, screamed that this was no coincidence. He stepped forward protectively, positioning himself between Liam and the stranger. Who's there? His voice was deep, authoritative, a voice that had commanded boardrooms, crushed opponents, and sealed billion-dollar deals. The figure did not move. For a second, only the sound of the rain tapping against the leaves filled the silence. Then, the figure turned and bolted. Without thinking, Ethan lunged forward. His powerful strides cut through the wet grass as he chased after them, his pulse hammering. Whoever they were, they knew something. And Ethan was done being left in the dark. The person, a woman, judging by the shape, darted through the rows of gravestones, her dark hoodie flapping behind her. But Ethan was faster. He reached out, snatched her wrist, and yanked her back. She let out a sharp gasp, struggling, but Ethan tightened his grip. Who the hell are you? And why were you watching us? Then, she lifted her head. And Ethan froze. He felt like the ground had vanished beneath him. His breath hitched in his throat. His grip loosened. Because staring back at him was a ghost. A woman who should not exist. Her face was thinner, her cheeks sunken, her once bright green eyes now shadowed with exhaustion and fear. But there was no mistake. It was Olivia. Alive. His dead wife was standing right in front of him. Ethan's world imploded. His chest squeezed so tightly he could barely breathe. His mind refused to process what his eyes were seeing. No. His voice came out raw, barely a whisper. This is not possible. A tear slipped down Olivia's cheek as her lips trembled. Ethan. Her voice cracked, fragile like shattered glass. For years, Ethan had stood over her grave, mourned her, drowned in guilt for not being there to save her. And yet, here she was, alive, breathing. His hands clenched into fists, his entire body trembling with unfiltered rage and confusion. You died. I buried you. How are you here? His voice rose, a storm of emotions breaking free. But before Olivia could answer, a small voice called out from behind them. Mommy! Ethan whipped around just in time to see Liam running toward them. And that was when Ethan saw something that made his blood run cold. Liam was not running toward Olivia. He was running toward another woman. Another woman who had just stepped out from behind the graves, her face pale as she locked eyes with Ethan. And that woman looked exactly like Olivia. Two Olivias, standing right in front of him. One, a ghost from his past. The other, a stranger who looked just like her. Ethan felt his sanity slipping. What the hell is going on? Ethan staggered back, his breath coming in short, uneven gasps. His mind screamed that this was impossible, yet his eyes refused to lie. Two identical women. One standing before him, trembling. The wife he buried. The other standing a few feet away, holding Liam's tiny hand. His stomach twisted. His world, his reality, was breaking apart. Liam tugged at the second woman's sleeve. Mommy, why is he looking like that? Ethan's body went rigid. Mommy? The second Olivia, if that was even her name, wrapped a protective arm around Liam, her eyes flashing with both fear and determination. Liam, step back. Ethan's throat was dry, his voice barely more than a whisper. Who are you? The woman's lips pressed into a thin line. For a long moment she said nothing. Then, the first Olivia, the one Ethan had chased, spoke. She is my twin. Ethan's breath hitched. What? The words felt like a lie, but the more he looked, the more he saw it. The same delicate features, the same emerald green eyes, but now he could see subtle differences. The Olivia he had buried had always been softer, more elegant. The woman holding Liam's hand had a sharper edge to her, her stance more guarded. His mind raced, trying to piece together a puzzle that made no sense. You never told me you had a twin. His voice was rough, filled with restrained rage. He had loved Olivia with everything he had, yet she had kept something this massive from him. The first Olivia, the one he thought was dead, lowered her gaze. Because I was not supposed to. Because it would have put you in danger. Ethan's jaw clenched. Danger? What kind of danger? The second woman, the one with Liam, finally spoke. Her voice was colder, sharper than Olivia's. The kind that gets people killed. Ethan's pulse thundered in his ears. What the hell did that mean? He turned his attention back to Olivia, his anger boiling over. You let me believe you were dead. For 3 years. I broke. I grieved. I blamed myself every single day. And now you just show up like this? Tears pooled in Olivia's eyes, but she stood firm. Ethan, I had no choice. If I had stayed, you would have died, and so would Liam. Liam. Ethan's eyes darkened as he looked at the child again. His son. A son he never knew existed. A child Olivia had kept from him. His voice was low, lethal. Who were you running from? The second woman, Olivia's twin, shifted uncomfortably. You are asking the wrong question, Ethan. You should be asking, who is still looking for us? A sharp chill ran down his spine. Then, before he could react, his phone buzzed in his pocket. He pulled it out, his stomach clenching at the unknown number. Instinct told him to ignore it, but something told him this was connected. He answered. A deep, menacing voice filled his ear. You should have left the past buried, Mr. Carter. Now you will pay the price. The line went dead. Ethan's blood ran ice cold. Whoever they were running from, they had just found him too. Ethan stood frozen, gripping his phone so tightly his knuckles turned white. The threat was real. He could feel it like a knife pressing against his throat. His instincts screamed at him. This was no coincidence. The moment he found Olivia, danger followed. Someone had been watching, waiting. Olivia's twin, the one with Liam, must have seen the shift in his expression because she stepped forward, her voice sharp. Ethan, what happened? Who was on the phone? Ethan lifted his gaze, his stormy blue eyes locking onto hers. Something in him snapped. Who are you running from? His voice was deadly calm, the kind of calm that came before a storm. No more half-truths, no more lies. If you want to keep Liam safe, you tell me everything. Now. Olivia's lips quivered, but she remained silent. Her twin, however, let out a bitter laugh. Oh, now you care about keeping Liam safe? Where was that concern when my sister was begging for her life 3 years ago? Ethan's stomach clenched. His muscles tightened with raw fury. What the hell are you talking about? Olivia's twin crossed her arms, her emerald eyes filled with an icy hatred. You really have no idea, do you? Ethan took a step closer, his voice low and commanding. Try me. A tense silence stretched between them. Olivia gripped her twin's arm, her voice urgent. No, Emily, not here. Not now. Emily. Ethan's mind flashed through every memory, every conversation he had ever had with Olivia. Never, not once had she mentioned a sister. Why? Emily exhaled sharply, then glanced at Liam, who was clutching her hand tightly, confusion written all over his face. Her voice dropped. We cannot stay here. If they found you, they found us. We need to leave, now. Ethan's pulse pounded. He wanted answers. He deserved answers. But one look at Olivia's face, the sheer fear in her eyes, told him this was bigger than his anger. Without another word, he turned on his heel. Come with me, now. Emily hesitated, her eyes narrowing. And why should we trust you? Ethan let out a cold, humorless laugh. Because I am the only one in this city powerful enough to fight whoever is coming for you. Emily's lips pressed together, as if she wanted to argue. But then, a sound in the distance, tires screeching. Ethan's jaw clenched. They were out of time. Without waiting for permission, he grabbed Olivia's wrist and pulled her toward his car. Emily scooped Liam into her arms and followed. Ethan yanked open the door of his black Rolls-Royce, shoving Olivia inside. His heart was hammering, his mind racing. As soon as he slid into the driver's seat, he caught a glimpse of the black SUV speeding down the cemetery road behind them. No license plate, tinted windows. They were being hunted. Ethan slammed his foot on the gas, the tires screeching as they tore away from the graveyard. His grip on the wheel was iron tight. In the rearview mirror, the SUV picked up speed. They were being followed. Ethan, where are we going? Olivia's voice was shaking. Ethan's jaw locked. His voice was ice. Somewhere they can never touch you again. But deep inside, he knew. This was only the beginning. The Rolls-Royce sped through the darkened streets, its headlights slicing through the misty night. Ethan's grip on the wheel was like a vice, his mind racing faster than the car itself. Behind them, the black SUV was relentless. Whoever was inside was not just following them, they were hunting them. Ethan's jaw tightened. He needed to lose them. He took a sharp left turn, the tires screeching as the car narrowly avoided slamming into a lamppost. Olivia let out a small gasp, clutching the seat. Liam whimpered, burying his face in Emily's shoulder. Ethan, where are we going? Olivia's voice was trembling. Ethan's eyes flickered to the rearview mirror. The SUV was still there. Somewhere safe, he muttered. But in truth, he had no idea where safe was anymore. Then, a sudden impact. The SUV rammed into the back of Ethan's car. The force sent Olivia and Emily lurching forward in their seats. Liam screamed. Ethan's grip tightened as he struggled to regain control. A second hit. Harder this time. Whoever was behind them was not trying to scare them. They were trying to run them off the road. His mind worked at lightning speed. He had two choices. Keep running and risk crashing, or face them head on. Ethan's gaze darkened. He had never been the type to run. With a sudden, calculated move, he slammed the brakes. The SUV, unable to stop in time, swerved violently to avoid a collision. The moment it lost control, Ethan yanked the wheel, cutting into a hidden side alley. The car roared through the narrow space, barely squeezing between the towering buildings. Ethan did not stop until they had reached a secluded underground parking lot beneath one of his high-rise hotels. His fingers unclenched from the wheel, his chest rising and falling. They had escaped. For now. Turning to Olivia, his voice was sharp. You need to start talking. Right now. Emily braced herself against the door, breathing heavily. Her eyes burned with fury. Ethan, do you have any idea what you just did? You think you saved us? You just made everything worse. Ethan's gaze hardened. Worse? Someone just tried to kill us. If I had not done that, we would all be dead. Olivia's lips trembled. She hugged Liam tightly, whispering soft reassurances in his ear. Ethan exhaled sharply. He was done playing games. He turned to Olivia, his voice dropping to a dangerously low tone. Who is after you? Olivia hesitated. Then, a single tear slipped down her cheek. The same people who killed me. Ethan's entire body went still. His breath caught. His mind refused to process what he had just heard. What did she just say? Emily's expression was unreadable as she stared at Ethan. You still do not get it, do you? And then, she pulled something out of her pocket. A death certificate. Ethan snatched it from her hands, his vision blurring as he read the name on the paper. Olivia Carter. Date of death: 3 years ago. Official cause: accidental drowning. Ethan felt like the air had been knocked out of his lungs. His fingers tightened around the paper, his knuckles turning white. This had to be a mistake. His wife, his Olivia, was sitting right in front of him, breathing, alive. Yet he was holding proof of her death in his own hands. His pulse pounded. His voice was a whisper. What the hell is going on? Olivia met his gaze, and for the first time since he found her, her lips parted, to reveal the truth that would change everything. The underground parking lot was deathly silent except for the distant hum of the city above. But inside the car, Ethan's world was collapsing. His wife, his Olivia, was sitting right in front of him. Yet, in his hands, he held proof of her death. He stared at the death certificate, his fingers trembling. It was not fake. The official government seal was there, stamped in black ink. The cause of death: accidental drowning. But Olivia was breathing, alive. His voice was hoarse, barely above a whisper. Tell me this is some kind of mistake. Emily let out a sharp breath, her patience gone. Ethan, wake up. She was declared dead 3 years ago, and yet she is sitting right here. Ask yourself, who has the power to fake a death, and why? Ethan's grip on the paper tightened. His mind was racing, spinning, drowning. Olivia's eyes filled with tears. Her lips trembled as she spoke. Because I was never supposed to live. Ethan's stomach dropped. Emily's jaw clenched. Tell him everything, Olivia. He deserves to know. Olivia took a shaky breath, holding Liam close as if he was her only anchor to this world. Then, she started. It was never an accident. Ethan froze. Olivia's voice wavered, but she continued. 3 years ago, the night I died, I was being followed. I had found something I was never meant to see. And the moment I realized the truth, they came for me. Ethan's breath caught in his throat. Who? Olivia hesitated. But then, Emily spoke instead. Your own company, Ethan. Sinclair Enterprises. The ground beneath him shattered. Ethan's entire body went rigid. His mind refused to process what he had just heard. That is impossible, he whispered. Emily's eyes burned. Is it? She leaned forward, her voice sharp as a blade. Ask yourself this, Ethan. Who benefits from your wife's death? Who wanted her out of the way? And who has enough power to erase her existence like she was never born? Ethan could not breathe. His own company? The empire he built with his own hands? The same people who worked under him? The board members? The executives? His mind flashed to Richard Sinclair. His father. A cold wave of nausea crashed over him. It could not be. But Olivia's eyes held nothing but painful truth. I was silenced, Ethan, because I found out what Sinclair Enterprises was really doing behind closed doors. Ethan's heart pounded. What did you find? Olivia swallowed hard. Her next words were so soft, yet they hit him like a gunshot. Blood money. Human lives. Sinclair Enterprises was never just a business. It was a cover for something much, much darker. And I knew too much. Ethan's vision blurred. His company? A criminal empire? Number. His pulse roared in his ears. "You are lying," Emily scoffed. "Are we?" She reached into her bag and pulled out a USB drive. She tossed it onto Ethan's lap. "Here. If you want proof, watch this. See for yourself what Sinclair Enterprises truly is, and then tell me if we are lying." Ethan stared at the USB, his hands shaking. Everything he had ever known was about to change, and he was not ready for it. Ethan's hands shook as he picked up the USB drive, its tiny shape feeling heavier than a boulder. His pulse hammered in his ears. His company, his own legacy. A cover for something dark? That was impossible. But Olivia's tear-streaked face told him otherwise. Without a word, he pulled out his laptop, his fingers moving on instinct. Emily and Olivia watched in silence as he plugged in the USB. The screen blinked. A single file appeared, labeled Project Shadow. Ethan clicked. A video started playing. At first, the screen was black. Then, grainy footage emerged. A warehouse, dimly lit. A group of men in suits stood in a circle, surrounding someone on their knees. Ethan's breath caught. The person on the ground was tied up, beaten, bleeding, their face swollen beyond recognition. And then, he heard it. A voice. One he knew too well. His father, Richard Sinclair. "You should have kept your mouth shut. Now you are an inconvenience." Ethan's entire body went cold. He watched in horror as his father gave a simple nod. The men in suits stepped forward, and then the screen cut to black. A gunshot rang out. Ethan flinched. His heartbeat was so loud it was deafening. He stared at the dark screen, his stomach twisting violently. He wanted to believe it was fake, a sick joke, but he knew better. His father, his own father, a murderer. Ethan's hands clenched into fists. He looked up at Olivia, his eyes burning. "Is this what you found?" His voice was barely above a whisper. Olivia nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks. "And I was next, Ethan. They came for me. They tried to make it look like an accident. I was never supposed to survive." Ethan's entire chest tightened. A storm of rage, betrayal, and disgust tore through him. He had spent his entire life building Sinclair Enterprises, believing it was a force for good. But in reality, it was built on blood. Emily's voice cut through the silence. "Now you understand, Ethan. You were never in control. Your father is. And as long as he is in power, Olivia, and even Liam, will never be safe." Ethan's eyes darkened. He had worshipped his father, obeyed him, lived to earn his approval. And all along, Richard Sinclair was nothing more than a monster in a suit. Slowly, Ethan stood. His jaw tightened, his fists clenched, his entire demeanor changed. For the first time in his life, he knew exactly what he needed to do. He turned to Olivia, his voice firm. "I will end this. I will burn Sinclair Enterprises to the ground if I have to. But I swear on my life, he will never hurt you again." Olivia's eyes widened. Emily smirked. And for the first time, Ethan Sinclair was no longer a CEO. He was a man ready for war. Ethan had made up his mind. There was no turning back. The man he had once idolized, the man he called father, was a murderer, a monster who controlled everything from the shadows. But tonight, that control would shatter. He grabbed his phone, dialing a number he had never thought he would use. "Detective Carter." His voice was sharp, unwavering. "I have proof of illegal dealings tied to Sinclair Enterprises. Meet me at my penthouse in an hour." Olivia's breath hitched. "You are exposing your own father?" Ethan's jaw clenched. "He is no father of mine." An hour later, the penthouse was filled with detectives, forensic analysts, and federal agents. Ethan handed over the USB drive, signed statements, and financial records Olivia had recovered. Detective Carter watched the screen in silent horror as the video of Richard's crime played. Then, he nodded. "This is enough to bring him down." Ethan exhaled a slow breath. But he was not done yet. He turned to his personal lawyer and handed him a thick stack of documents. "This is my official resignation from Sinclair Enterprises. I am liquidating my shares. The company will be dismantled piece by piece. Every corrupt deal, every shady investment, exposed." His lawyer's eyes widened. "Ethan, this will destroy everything your family built." Ethan's gaze hardened. "Then let it burn." The next morning, every news station in the country reported the fall of the mighty Sinclair empire. Breaking news: billionaire Richard Sinclair has been arrested on charges of conspiracy, fraud, and first-degree murder. His son, Ethan Sinclair, provided the evidence that led to his downfall. The headlines flashed across every screen. Ethan stood in his penthouse, staring at the chaos he had unleashed. He felt no regret, only relief. A small hand tugged at his sleeve. "Mr. Ethan?" Liam's voice was soft. The little boy looked up at him, wide-eyed. "Are you okay?" Ethan knelt, placing a hand on the boy's shoulder. "Better than ever, buddy." Liam grinned and threw his arms around him. Ethan stiffened. Then slowly, he hugged the boy back. For the first time in years, he felt something he had not felt in a long time. Peace. Olivia stepped beside them, tears glistening in her eyes. "You saved us, Ethan." He shook his head. "You saved me." A soft smile played on Olivia's lips. For the first time, they were free. As they stood together, watching the city skyline, Ethan realized something. He had lost an empire, but he had gained something far more valuable: a family.